I say that right? I
Yeah.
thought about that. And I was like,
Yeah.
okay, Bugary with me today. So I asked him before, and then, of course, I mess it up as soon as I dive in. But he's going to go ahead and do a little introduction on him, and then we're going to dive right into his messy, messy life.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for having me. Yeah. My name is Michael Bugary. I'm a former Division I and professional baseball player. I played for the University of California, Berkeley, and for the Boston Red Sox organization. I got hurt pretty early in my career, and I fell into drug addiction, opiates, painkillers, and as my addiction progressed, I was diagnosed with a brain tumor, slightly smaller than a tennis ball, and in my cerebellum, which is the back part of your brain here. And it took me some time. I went through some pretty challenging times, and it took me a little bit of time to recover through it. And now I share my story as a motivational speaker, and I have a book coming out. And so I try to help other people. It's called The Disease of Me because that was my life. It was always focused around me, and I found that helping other people actually helps me the most.
It's very interesting you say that because I just did a podcast on addiction. Somebody who actually wrote a book on addiction and like a different process of like dealing with that, right? And then now you're an author as well.
Yeah, yeah,
So it's funny that you say that helping others helps you because it really does. And a lot of people don't see that because we're so self-evolved. I think like we just kind of focus on us
yeah,
and like don't have time or the bandwidth to be able to help others fully or even think about that as a thought for a lot of people, and it's
yeah.
amazing how much that can help you.
Yeah, no, I think too. And I was totally like this. It's like I didn't even recognize how selfish I was, right? I didn't even recognize it's not just in my actions; it's in my thoughts. And once I really learned how to be really honest with myself and to accept me for me, what happened was then I could start to accept you for you and see the other things into people and then actually be open to them and learn to have that empathy and sympathy. But yeah, it's shocking to me. That's why I called it The Disease of Me, because it was really shocking to me, how the depths of my selfishness.
Is that like the title of your book, or what's the title
Yes.
of your book?
Yeah.
What?
That's the title of my book. Yeah. Yeah. I'm trying to plug it, so.
Perfect. Yeah, I like that. I like that. I've never heard somebody use it that way, so I love that. So let's just start at the beginning. So, you've been playing baseball. I assume if you went pro, pretty
Yeah.
much your whole life, right? Now,
Yeah.
where did the addiction start to come into play? Where did all like the substance abuse?
Well, yeah, baseball. It started before any drugs and alcohol. Baseball was my first addiction because it became the source of getting the things that I wanted, like that attention and validation. Right, that's what I wanted, and it became my higher power. And I started drinking in high school early on, and it always helped me keep up this character because I created this identity around baseball. But it helped me off the field, but it never really helped me on the field. So as long as I had baseball, I was always able to maintain that. Not to say that I didn't drink alcoholically when I did or when I tried other substances, but I was always able to maintain that control as long as I had baseball. And then when I got hurt, and I was basically at 23 years old, and I was basically told that I really wouldn't be able to throw right again. Then I lost baseball, I lost my sense of self worth, and that's when opiates and other drugs came in to help me not to feel, and it really took off because I knew what they were going to do to me before, and I took them, but I just didn't care anymore because I didn't have that North Star or that sense of purpose, and so then it just really just took off from there.
So basically, baseball was kind of like an identity for you. Like it was
Absolutely,
everything. And
everything.
then when you lost it, you felt like you just lost everything.
Yeah, 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 totally. It was who I didn't imagine a life without it, right? See, I had this mindset of I was willing to die at 40 to play 10 years in the major leagues. Because the reality was I was really full of insecurity and fear. This identity that I created was for me to be able to keep everybody at arm's distance. So I never got to feel rejected again. They didn't ever get to know the real me. Because this character that I was creating wasn't the real me. I didn't know who the real me was. And so when I lost it, I didn't know where to turn. I made it a point that everybody knew me for baseball. I always put it in your face, and so now I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to be around it. It hurts too much, so I wanted to numb my feelings. And one thing opiates like Oxycontin and eventually the heroin, one things they do is they numb your feelings really well.
And I think that's like the biggest thing with them, right? Is like that's what people want. They just want to
Yeah,
feel nothing. And that's
Yeah.
what's so addictive about it, because it takes all the pain and all the frustration away.
Yeah.
When, so when you got, what happened that you got hurt? Like, was it
Yeah, so
during baseball?
I was pitching in spring training, and I threw a pitch and I felt my arm pop, and eventually I ended up having to get surgery, and there wasn't one that wasn't the main thing that I think caused it. It was when I always had this need for attention and validation, right? So the times that I couldn't play or didn't get it on the field, I would seek it off the field. Like through going to bars or womanizing or whatever it may be to show people that I was cool. I had this perception of what I thought people wanted to see, what I thought they would think was cool, and I had to be this masculine, womanizing, cool that does all the fun stuff, and so even whenever I found a situation where I couldn't find that validation on the field, then I had to find it off of it. And especially during my rehab, instead of really focusing on my arm and fixing my arm, I was out there doing other things, abusing medication and all these different things. And I think that had a detrimental effect on my recovery.
Is there something from like your childhood or some root cause of like the insecurities and like the fear of not being the cool guy?
Like the why, right? The why, and I wrestled with the why I am the way I am for a really long time. And I have an awesome. I come from a military family. My parents are great. They could drink alcohol for 3 drinks a night for 30 years. I never saw them drunk. There is no other reason why, and I can get lost in this why. But the real reason is I really like attention. I like attention from everyone. Yeah, and I really do. I want it from all the girls. Even if I don't want the girls, I want the attention. Right, and I like to get high, and I'd rather avoid my problems. I'd rather get high and avoid and that's the truth, and that's all that I need to know.
You just own it. You're like, this is
Yeah,
me. This is how I am.
yeah. I am who I am, and I'm still that way. I'm still that way. And I have to recognize that.
And I love that because it's so hard for people to take responsibility for who they are and their actions. It's
Yeah,
really hard in society to get people to do that. So like hearing you say like, yeah, this is just me
yeah,
is so cool. So what happened after you got, into you hit rock bottom, I assume, and like
yeah.
what got you to like kind of start turning things around?
But yeah, so as my addiction progressed eventually to heroin, I lost that capacity to live up these dual lives anymore, right? When a drug like that enters your life, you can only think about getting more of it. And I think people around me started to notice, and I was starting to ruin relationships and burn bridges. And I went to treatment, and I still tried. I always had this. I wanted to do things my way. I always wanted to be in control. It was me. I had no spirituality, and so after I got out of treatment, I continued to live the way that I was doing, and because something happens, right? I could stay sober for a little bit of time, but something happens in life. Life always happens, right? Where something happens to me that I feel the need to find a solution, and that solution was always substances. And so, at I started to slowly build my life back together a little bit, trying to accept this life without baseball. And then I was diagnosed with a brain tumor. I was experiencing these headaches, and I went to the emergency room and complaining of it because I was like passing out, and it all happened so fast, and I had to have multiple surgeries and intense chemotherapy and radiation for a few months, and it just like it really just I lost all my hair. I lost like 50 pounds. It really wreaked havoc on me. And I wish I could say that changed me. You're going through something that would change you, but no, like just 2 weeks after I learned I was in remission, my mom finds me passed out in my car with drug paraphernalia on my lap, right? Because I was in pain, and
Almost made it worse.
meaning
Like it made the drug use worse because now you just want to numb the thought of what's going on in general.
kind of it was weird. Is it because to this point all my pain was mental, right? And now I'm in physical, really physical pain too. And so it's that combination of it. And at the time, rightfully so, the people taking care of me told the doctors that I was an opiate addict, right? So they weren't really giving me anything too. And so but I needed to find I was in pain. I needed to find a solution because I always, my disease, I call it terminal uniqueness, right? It's terminal, my disease. And it always needs to feel better now. I needed to feel better now, not think about the consequences, not think about anything else. And so, yes, in a sense, it did make it worse, but it also justified it too, right? It justified my behavior in a way where, hey, I need this now. Because I can go to any doctor and they'll just turn the prescription pad around to me because I just tell them all the things that I've been through and the pain that I'm in. So it justified that in my mind.
Wow. Yeah, I guess like I could see where that would almost make it easier to get the drugs.
Oh yeah, yeah. Yeah, you
So
combine that with being manipulative and and successful, right? I could, hey, I went to Berkeley, doctor. Like, I play for the Red Sox, and I could use all those, and I'm a little bit charismatic. I could use all those things to get more and more of it, and I doctor shopped for a long time.
wow, that's insane. And like the beginning of it, you had people like telling them like he has issues with
Yeah,
addiction, like don't give him anything, but then you just see a different doctor and then
yeah,
end up being able to.
yeah, yeah. I end up burning those bridges to where I'm left alone now to my own devices, and I do the things that I want to do. Right. But at this point I realized, with all my health issues and everything going on, that I just can't functionally live alone anymore. And it got to a point. So when you asked earlier about the turning point, there was a few of them. And one of them is I have a really awesome therapy dog, and he really saved my life in a time where I needed him the most. And he continues to save my life in a lot of the work that we do I volunteer at the hospital with him, visiting the children at Rainbow Babies Hospital in Cleveland, and the other cancer centers. But that was a big part of it too. But the other part of it was I got to this point where the medication stopped working, right? Just stopped working. And I found myself in what I call the limbo of agony, where it hurt too much to sit still and it hurt too much to move. See, the worst part about my brain cancer, it was the side effects of my treatment. The tumor that I had was so rare, and the doctors didn't really know what to do. They were just trying to save my life. So the stuff that they gave me was pretty nasty. The side effects weren't really they were afterthought, right? They were like, we'll cross this bridge when it comes. And well, here I am at this bridge now, and nobody knows how to cross it, right? And so I was really frustrated not being able to find any answers, because he was hard pressed to find somebody that was 27 years old, a former pro athlete, that had the type of tumor that I had and the side effects. And there was no point of reference. I didn't have somebody to turn to say, hey, you went through this. What do I do? And I find it funny now, because God had to make me really unique for me to realize that I'm not special. Right, which is the irony of it. But yeah, no, I struggled with it, and I got to a point where I either had to roll over and die, or do something different, and my ego was too big to do it myself. So I had to do something different. And so, yeah, so I learned how to heal a lot of my nerve damage through meditation and the exercise. And it was just a really painful process, to where I read about the stories of other people that went through challenging times. And I started to, that mind body connection, where it went from my purposeful movements into not wanting to like smash into things, because I really lost my spatial awareness. But then it turned into purposeful thought, right? I started to think about my actions and choices, and then I really had to learn how to get honest with myself, because I was so full of anger and blame, right? I blamed, the Red Sox for releasing me, my coaches in college for pitching me too much, for God for giving me brain cancer. But then I had to realize that all those things that I mentioned were not the result of anybody else but me, right? I never told my coach in college my arm was bothering me, not that I shouldn't. I just jumped at every opportunity, right? I was the one that messed up and was out partying and drinking during my rehabilitation with the Red Sox. I was the one that chose to use human growth hormone and other anabolic steroids in my desperation to come back, that caused my tumor. All these things, these were my choices, and right. And when I was open to realizing that, then I could see that God has always been working in my life. I just chose never to see it.
It kind of like opened your eyes completely, like, right? Like you were
Yeah,
just so closed in, and then
yeah.
it was just like, oh, here's my wake up call. And it's amazing how many people have found that, like, really kind of switch to the faith to get through
Yeah,
things.
yeah,
It's very, very common. And I think a lot of people miss, like, going, like, being, like, faith and, like, going to church and, like, joining specific churches and stuff are two totally different things. And
totally
you can,
different.
like, even if you're not going to church every day, you can have some type of faith that will help you in those types of times. And it's very cool to see people like that. It was just like awakening. Like you're almost like I just gave in and I finally like sat with what's in front of me.
I surrendered. I surrendered. That's what I did. right? That surrender word was so hard for me because I'm this big tough guy, right? And I don't ever want to surrender. And you're right. And I don't go to church, and I don't have any sense of that. That's what kept me out, right? And especially in a alcohol recovery treatment, there's all this emphasis on God. And whenever I heard the word God, I heard your religion and your beliefs, and I shut down. And I had to physically have a spiritual experience. Like, it had to physically happen to me. It's hard to explain. It wasn't like some burning bush moment, but I had so many things happen to me in my life. People at the right time, and all these right different things. Like Lingo, my therapy dog, being born the same month as my brain tumor. There's so many, and he saved my life. And there's so many moments I can look back and go over and over and over again that this it had to be something. I couldn't do this. It's not possible for me to do this. Every time I'm in charge, I crash and burn. But there's just so many instances in my life where it has to be something greater than me, and I don't know what that is. Right? I'm just stuck between these two infinites, right? One above me and one below me, and I don't know what I'm doing, and I don't have to understand it. I don't have to understand God. I don't have to feel the need. I just have to have faith.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes we just gotta like sit back and let them take the wheel, you know? Like, let's
Yeah,
see.
yeah. I mean, I tell
Um,
you what, it's been the biggest relief, like I don't have to worry about that stuff. It's such a pressure off me, you know what I mean? I don't have to be in control, whatever.
well, there's you can never be in control of everything.
Yeah.
It's a huge thing that like I talk about all the time because it's really helped me like just own like in general, just all life. You know, you focus on what you can control and don't focus on what you can't. Like there's some things like politics is a good example. Like we
Yeah.
we can vote, we can we can take stands on stuff, but like other than that, like there's not a whole lot you can do except for run for office. And I'm not doing that. So I'm not
Yeah.
gonna get my I'm not gonna let it take over my entire world
No.
because I can't control it. But something I can control is my habits and the things that I do on a daily basis that shape the rest of my life. And being able to kind of sit back and let the things that are out of your control happen is such a weight off your shoulder.
Oh man. Man. That goes back to acceptance, right? Right. And I have to accept, and acceptance doesn't mean approval, right? I don't have to like that I can't control it, right? I don't have to like that I can't do these things, but what I can control is the environment around me, right? I can, and that's really all that I can control, and I have to do that through my actions, and through attraction, not promotion, right? It's about and that's living with gratitude, right? It's about the way that I get up, the way that I present myself when I go speak. I make sure I'm prepared, and I have whatever that means, right? I can control by being present every day for my family. Those are the things that I can control.
So, well, once you had the tumor, you did were they able to remove it?
Yes, yeah, I had two surgeries. They completely removed it. Yeah,
Okay, okay, good. I just wanted to make sure
yeah,
that we're on a good point
yeah,
on that.
yeah.
So, before,
No, yeah. It'll be 10 years
so
for me. 10 years for me. 2 days ago. Yeah.
oh well,
Thank
congratulations.
you.
That's awesome.
Thank you. Yeah.
Um, so in that 10 years, so was it when they in the process of figuring out like what was going to happen next since everything was so rare? Where in this mix, or was it after the tumor was removed that like things kind of shifted?
I was really numb during that period of time. I remember, one of my vivid memories is my mom. She had flown in from California, and she was sitting me in the hospital bed, and the doctor, he's speaking all his jargon I don't quite understand. He's talking about this and that, and he's writing percentages for my treatments, basically percentages on my chances to live. And I'm sitting there, kind of numb, I never once turned to think about what my mom must be going through. She had just put me through treatment and now brain cancer, and I never thought about her because I was focused on, hey, I'm gonna be all right. I'm gonna get through this because I'm gonna get some good drugs now, at least. And so my mindset, I didn't really at the time, I didn't have any spirituality. I wasn't praying to God. I was still mad at God. I wasn't thinking about this or that. I was just, I had a stick in my mouth, and I was just biting down, and just taking it. I didn't have any other thing to do. That's really what it was for a few years. It was like that.
How long did you have the tumor before it was able to be removed?
That's the question. We don't know. So I had this really specific type of headache, and I only other had that headache one other time when I was in college, and I got scans and I got it checked out. And so that tumor, because it was so big, it could either be in there my whole life or it had to happen rapidly, right? There's one of two ways. And because I know that it wasn't in me in college, just a couple years later, it was that big. So I know that it was probably from the steroids and human growth hormone, right? And then probably, smoking drugs on tinfoil probably didn't help either. Let's be real. But so it must have been in that time frame, and I wasn't really, taking care of doing my those things. And I didn't know at the time either that I had some family history with it that I avoided, as a child. So my type of tumor that I had was common in children, but very rare in adults. So
Oh,
so I had some children in my family in the past that had died from that type of tumor, and I didn't know that either.
okay. Yeah. I mean, kind of that lack of awareness. Like, if you don't know, you just don't know. Like, I don't know
Yeah,
a lot of my family history
yeah,
either. So it's nothing you can prevent if you don't know about it.
yeah. And
Um,
that I didn't care either, right? I didn't care to think about that. Hey, I'm taking this really dangerous substance. I should probably look into it a little bit before I do it, right? So
well, and when you're young, especially if you got a lot of ego, which most
yeah,
men do,
yeah, yeah. Thank you.
it's
Yeah,
it's all about the self thought there, right? Like you're like,
yeah,
well, I just want to be big and strong, and
yeah,
I just want
yeah,
to, be this tough guy, and so that's what it plays into. It's more the reward versus risk, right?
yeah, yeah. For me, it was about building my arm back, right? It was about my identity. It was about everything. It was desperation, right? It was the last resort for me. I thought I told myself I would never do it because of the stigma with baseball, right? But it was my last resort. I didn't have any other options.
And when you were taking those, how long between the point of taking like the growth hormone and then finding out you had the tumor?
A couple years, I think.
A couple years.
Yeah, probably like 3 years. Yeah, and I continue.
How did you
Go ahead.
find the tumor? Sorry. How did you
Yeah,
find the
no,
tumor?
I was experiencing these headaches, but that were just knocking me out, like, and I couldn't wake up. And I had a girlfriend at the time, and we were living together, and she thought I was back on drugs again, because I was nodding off. It was just really really bizarre, and we got in a fight one day, and she dropped me off at the emergency room, and that's how I found out. Yeah,
Wow. She probably felt
yeah.
real bad after that.
Oh, I made her feel guilty after that. Yeah, yeah,
played it
yeah.
played it to your love
Yeah,
more.
yeah, yeah. I know. No, but I mean, she had every right to think that, though. Yeah,
Yeah. I mean, looking back on it, you can see
yeah,
like why she would think
yeah. Of
that.
course, yeah. At the time, though, I was pissed. Yeah,
You're like, I'm not.
yeah,
Um, so, when you finally found out that it was a tumor and that was causing the headaches, how long did you have to live with it, and like like with the treatments and stuff like that? Because you said it was very rare, so like
yeah,
they didn't know exactly what to do. There's no comparison case.
yeah.
So how long did it take before they could remove it, or like how much did you have to deal with in the meantime?
So they got rid of it pretty quickly, and like within 2 days, it was gone. They got the surgery was
Oh,
successful. It was good, and which was great because I had a great surgeon, and so then I had to wait couple months to let it heal, to let the stitches out and to let everything heal, and that's when I had to go into I think 6 weeks or 6 or 8 weeks of chemotherapy and radiation, and that for me was the real hard part. And then after that, I had to take MRIs, every month, and then every a couple of months, and then twice a year and once a year, and up until 5 years. Because at 5 years, that's the point when they feel like the chances are decreased significantly. That's going to come back. But those 5 years were difficult because I just was dealing with all these side effects, and that not knowing, right? That not knowing of having that loom over you. It's a hard place to live. And but still, I still deal with the side effects today. They're still really bad. I just really learned how to manage them.
what kind of side effects do you have from it?
So I had really bad. So the medulloblastoma is a central nervous brain tumor. So it's of the nervous system. So at first I just had all my nerves were damaged. So really bad peripheral neuropathy on my nerve endings, just hypersensitivity, feeling like needles are stabbing me everywhere. And then also numbness too, which is that I had no spatial awareness. Like I would stub my toe, it'd be the worst thing ever. And so, like I said, through meditation, I slowly learned to heal a lot of that, and exercise and strength training. But like things like running or even lifting or whatever it may be. It's just really painful. But over time you get used to it. I still have constant headaches, and they're different than what they were. But basically everything that I do in my nervous system, my movement, I can feel it in my head. Right. So if I clench my fist, I can feel it in my head, by my toes. It's just buzzing through my body. It's a bizarre feeling. It's hard to explain, but you know what? But through the grace of God, though, I've been given like all my faculties still. Like I didn't lose a limb. Um I didn't lose my sight. I didn't lose my hearing. And you know what I mean? So like there's no poor me's, it's I run now all the time, and I do these things because I get to, right? And I'm stronger now physically, in better shape than I was ever when I played, because I get to, and I've learned to appreciate it so much more.
Do you feel like I mean, is there a chance of ever going back to baseball at all, or is that kind
Oh
of?
no, no, no. I mean, I c- I probably could have a few years ago if I wanted to, but no, I never see. I always thought baseball was like my identity, right? Like my purpose, my destiny, right? But I was always trying to be somebody different, or that's so it couldn't be, right? Because there was times after I got hurt that I could have gone back and played as a hitter or a different position, and tried to start over new, but that would destroy the narrative, right? Because now when I got hurt, I can always say I was good enough, and some injury stopped me from doing it, right? So I don't have to go back and fail again, because if I failed, then that would be the real truth, right? And so it's like an addiction, right? So once I played at this level, I can't go back to this level having fun playing it, right? Once I use heroin, I'm not going to go use Vicodin again, right? Once I've done it this certain way, that's why it's an addiction, right? And so baseball, no longer, I don't see it as a love anymore. I see it as that. I'm in recovery from it as well. And I coached and trained for a lot of years, and I'm really good at that. Really good at training, but it's not good for me. It's not, right? Because I don't take care of myself when I'm in it, and it gets it. So I've learned that that I can help in other ways, and I do that through speaking. I talk to athletes, and speak with them and share my story. That can help them in so many other ways, and help myself in the process.
Do you have like any stories of anyone specific that you've worked with that you've truly changed?
I mean, not anyone specific. There's a lot, and I'm still in this process, right? This is all new to me. I'm just like, hey, I want to be a motivational speaker. What do you do, right? So I like to say I'm in my starving artist phase, but I speak a lot, and I talk to a lot of people, and yeah, there's just so many examples of it. And one of the things that to athletes all the time, I do, but one of the main things that really moves me is when I go to visit the cancer center, and work with the children and my dog, and we talk to them, or when I'm with the adults, and I share my story with them, and they see me, and they see how I've recovered, and in their hardest moments we have this like heartfelt conversation, and it shows them, I think, that they can get through it, right? That they can, not only can they can thrive afterwards too, and it's such a hopeful message, and it just changes the way that I think, and I have so many moments like that, and it's real, and it's messy, right? But and it's awesome, and it's amazing. So I hope to I speak at cancer centers a lot, and all these other different places, and there's just so many people that have said that my story has helped them, but they don't realize that they're helping me just as much, if not more.
It's such a great thing. Um, so when what what got you into like writing the book, and like what's your book, like your book's about your story,
Yeah,
and what's the premise of all of that?
yeah. So right. I thought, like, to be honest, I thought, like, to be a motivational speaker, I need a book, right? I need something to say, hey, this and that. All the other motivational speakers got it, right? So when you start something new, you look at the other people, right, that are doing a good job at it. So I thought that that'd be a way for me to get into it, and so I started. That was my motivation to do it. So I started doing it, and I was always told, we all hear it, right? Like, you got a good story, man. You should write a book, And how many people go through with doing it, right? And so I sat down and started to writing it, and as I was going through with it, what it turned into, I couldn't imagine, right? It was such a healing process of just going through all these things, and before I knew it, I got 350 pages, right? And I gotta do some editing work. I gotta shut some things down, right? Because it's all about my favorite subject, me, right? And so, yeah. So it's called The Disease of Me, and you know, I kind of got the idea where, I'll be careful about what I say because I don't see my addiction as a disease, right? Even though there's science and it's important, and I think some people need to. You've heard me, right? The why I am the way I keep it real simple, and I think that I'm the disease, I'm the problem, right? Because my bad behavior, my character defects, and all my addictive behavior began long before I had a drink or a drug, right? So I'm the problem. And so, because you can take drugs and alcohol out of my life, and I still have all these things, right? They're just symptoms. They make me worse. The drugs and alcohol. And so I explain it through my life in baseball, addiction, and cancer. So I call it like the triple crown of adversity, right? That's the only award that I ever won, right? Because if you're if everybody knows somebody that's either gone through sports, addiction, or cancer, right? We all do. And I've been through like the worst of all three. So I explain it in that way. And then I talk about the solution. The solution to my problem, living in the solution, is taking personal responsibility first, right? I have to take ownership. I have to take ownership of my past, not close the door on it, right? I have to see it and use it as a blueprint to help me do better in the future. And then the second thing I have to do is I have to manage my pain, right? Because when I'm in pain, physical or mental pain, whatever it may be, I only think about myself. Like I only think about me when I'm in pain. I don't think about any. So I have to learn to manage my pain, however that looks, and it looks different for everybody. But that's what I have to do. And the last thing that I have to do is I have to work on my relationships. My, Obviously, the relationship with myself is personal responsibility, but the relationship I have with God and the relationship I have with other people, right? I have to be connected to a power greater than myself, right? I can't be in charge of this, right. It's like I used to make the joke. It's like the Titanic, when I'm in charge, right? It's big and beautiful at first, but then about 4 days, like I'm going down fantastically, and everybody else around me is, because that's the real victim in my story is everybody around me, my family, all the people that I hurt, right? All the people that my selfishness is, the sleepless nights for my family, the time that I stole. I wasn't a big I didn't go to prison or jail. I didn't steal a lot of things from stores and stuff like that. But I stole so much time and hope and trust from my family. I had to reconcile with that. And you do in the friends and the relationships that I burnt. But when I learned to work on those relationships and be honest, and then I can have gratitude. Right? When I have gratitude, I have a change of perspective, and the way that I view the world, the lens changes.
When you talk about the all the relationships that you basically had to mend, what did you
Yeah.
do? Like, how did you fix those? I mean, and like, how lonely were you at the point of all this shifting too? Like, where like you didn't really have any genuine connections
Yeah.
because you're so self evolved
Yeah.
involved.
Yeah, no, I was completely like I got to a point of completely, there's that old saying, right? Like when you're the smartest guy in the room, you're the only guy in the room, right? I was in a cold, dark place alone by myself in a room for a long time. And that's a good question. There's a lot of relationships that I can't fix, right? There's a lot of amends that I can't make. There's a lot of things that I can't tell somebody. It got to a point where my words were meaningless, right? I said sorry and this thing so many times it didn't matter. And there's a lot of relationships, unfortunately, that I can't get back, that still hurt me. That's the biggest. Some of my old teammates and friends that I truly love, that I did some things to that I'm not proud of, and my family who's always stuck around me. I can't, there's nothing that I can say to do for them to make up for all that stuff, but what I can do is have a living amends in the way that I treat them now, and how I show up, and how I'm there for, how I'm reliable. And and my family and I now, we've all moved out to Ohio from California now, and we have this open relationship. It's awesome. We're just always ragging on each other because they've seen, they know everything about me, and there's no eggshells. You know what I mean? It's so freeing. And that's why I was so excited to be on your podcast, because messy, right, authenticity and the truth is messy, right? It's messy when you live in the truth, like, because you don't know what's going to happen, right, when you lie, or you put things in order, like this, what's going to happen. You're either going to believe me or you're not, right? But the truth, like an authenticity, you don't know it. It's kind of exciting when you embrace it, and so there's not a lot of things that I can do to fix those things, but what I can do is I can just show up, and I can help other people, and I can live a certain way to show that, right? And that's what I try to do.
Is there any relationship that you didn't think was going to be mendable and you were able to like turn it around? Like one that just felt like it was completely broken and like they came around or you pushed hard enough?
Well, yeah, there's one, with my dad, there was a point in time, and he, after my brain cancer and stuff, and he let me move in back with him. My mom had moved out to work on the East Coast, and so it was me and him for a while, and I was so focused on myself and trying to heal my pain. And I think there was a point where my dad said that I would be the last person that he would call to take care of him, as he got older. And that always stuck with me, and that hurt. And but I know now that I've changed that, right? And I changed that. I maybe not the first, maybe not the first, but I'm definitely up there, and I know that he can rely on me today, for whatever that may be. And that's the most meaningful one to me, because he's the one that stuck by me over everything. He didn't give up on me, and the fact that I know that now, it's just it really fills me with, it it's hard to explain. Yeah, I'm really grateful for that. It's a gift.
That's awesome. It's like you opened up a door that you completely shut. It was like
Yeah,
nailed shut, and it opened up a door, and it shows that like nothing's too far gone, right?
yeah.
We can always
And
find
that's the thing about addicts and redemption, right? I think for somebody who's really been to hell has this like amazing chance for redemption, because you've seen that, and you know where the depths that can take you, and the path forward is only up. And I think that I'm so grateful for all those things, all the misery and the times that I spent, and I've learned how to turn that suffering into meaning, right, and into purpose. And as hard as those times were, and all the pain that I've been in, I wouldn't change any of it, really.
it's pretty incredible. And what are your goals like? Well, what are you doing now for like work other than like helping others and like
Yeah, so speaking, I do that for work as well now, and I have some other things with training and some stuff. Like I said, my starving artist phase, where I'm finishing up my book, and doing some other things. But I have a beautiful property out here I inherited. That's one of the reasons why I moved here. So I do maple syrup out here. I have a sawmill. I have tractors. I have all this stuff. I'm this California boy now. Now I'm in this farm with my dogs, and I'm trying to figure all these things out. So my goal would be to speak a certain times throughout the year, to travel if I have to, and then to make enough to spend time on this property. And I don't there's so much I can do out here. It's beautiful. It's a nature preserve. My grandfather built it. Never let anybody hunt on it or cut down trees. It's a beautiful forest, and I don't know what I'm gonna do. Maybe the dog refuge or something out here. Something, so something like that. I haven't decided yet, or maybe even a people refuge. I don't know. But my goal is to go out and speak and share my message, and then to do focus my time and doing stuff out here. And so that's the ultimate goal, and I'm really on the path to achieving that.
that's awesome. So this attachment with the dog that basically helped rescue you.
Yeah.
And you said you have more than one dog now, right?
Oh yeah, yeah. I technically have four, but my two German Shepherd girls are sisters, and they're kind of fighting right now. They fought over a guy, so they're fight on site right now. Typical girls, and so we have to do the Shepherd shuffle, I call it, between my sisters. So we rotate the Shepherds, because I have the property, so she wants the dogs go out here and run. So every other night I got a different Shepherd, but I have my two other dogs. So yeah. They're my protection. They can't be out in public. Only my therapy dog can be out in public. Yeah.
Really? Okay. Are
Yeah.
they trained? Did you get them all
Yeah.
trained or like
Yes, they're trained. They're trained. They're just not people friendly. I mean, they are people friendly, but they just rather be out. They're trained not to stay on my property, and they stay around with me, they listen to me, unless like a squirrel goes by or something. But for the most part, yeah, they are trained. They stick around, but my therapy dog, he's amazing. Yeah, he's a people dog. He's the only creature that likes attention more than me. So.
uh, so getting the therapy dog, did you always have dogs like growing up? Did you have any
Yeah,
family
yeah, I
like
did.
that?
Yeah, yeah, I did. And so what happened was, it's a cool story. So right after my cancer, after all that stuff, I moved back to California with my parents, and even after everything that I put them through, they let me still come back, which is amazing. And so I started to go back to treatment, and I got put on some medications and things. And but I was still struggling. I was depressed, and I really hadn't come to terms with baseball. I kind of knew the cancer kind of settled that for me, right? That I probably wouldn't play again. Right? It really, which is a gift, which is a gift now because that really helped me let go. But I was miserable, and I didn't want to be around people. And my mom worked at the military base in Monterey called the Defense Language Institute, and they had just adopted a dog. His name was Lingo. He's named after language, right? At the institute, to be a mascot, a therapy dog for the soldiers. And typically, when a police station, a hospital, whatever, they adopt a dog, they assign it a handler, right? Somebody to bring it to work every day, to take home, to give the dog a sense of stability, right? And the dogs need, and consistency. But Lingo didn't have that. He was staying at the base with the soldiers, and some of the employees would take him home on the weekends, but there was be weekends where he would stay on the base. And if you get soldiers in rotation that don't like dogs, he's gonna spend a lot of time in a cage, and that's just how it was. And it was kind of taking its toll on him. And my mom, who was one of the big wigs there at the time, she saw this and knew that she had a son at home that was hurting, and so she kind of, maybe we can help each other. So she brought him home one weekend, and we bonded immediately. Like he was like the first good thing to happen to me in so long, right? I had all these bad things happen to me over and over again, and I felt like the world abandoned me, right? And he was this like creature who didn't care about any of that, right? He just wanted to be with me. I mean, he wanted treats too, obviously, but he just wanted he wanted to be with me. And the first time I took him out to the park, and I share this a lot, is I got some exercise and some air, and I was present for the first time. I felt better. I wasn't worried about the past or caught up in the future. I was present, right? And being present, being in the moment, is a place where I heal. Where I'm not worried about all these other things. And eventually, in order to keep him, I had to work on myself, right? And that's how I started doing those things that I was talking about earlier. And then slowly, right, I became his handler. And then when he was ready to officially retire, I promised that I would continue his work as a therapy dog to help others in the way that he helped me. And that's when we got involved at the hospital down here in Cleveland when we moved. And he's a celebrity down there. He's going to be like the cover model for the calendar this year. And I get now it's how I work on my attention issues, right? Because when we go to the hospital, nobody ever remembers me, right? I'm the guy with the leash, right? And so, you got 10 nurses petting him, and everybody's rubbing on him. I'm standing there like this with my arms crossed, and right, we're walking in the hallways, and some girls go, "He's so handsome," and I'm like, "Yeah, well, my dog's cute too, you know." All right, I get a little bit jealous, but no, but I get there, and when we sit with the patients and they talk to their families about like Lingo's story or their dogs at home, what it does is it makes me think of my family, right? My mom, and those times where she found me and or sitting with me in the chair, whatever it may be. And as difficult as those thoughts are to have, they change the way that I think, right? And I can only have them when I help somebody else without expecting something in return. And so every time I take Lingo to the hospital, or every time we do something, it changes me. And that's he continues to help me. And so that's why I say he saved my life in so many different ways. And yeah, I'm just a gift from God.
What kind of dog is he?
So he's half boxer, a quarter husky, and a quarter Alaskan Malamute. He's real tall and tan, and almost 100 pounds. Yeah, 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 he is. Yeah.
And so when you take them to the hospital and stuff, you just basically bring the dog in like everyone's rooms and they just love on
Oh
it.
yeah, yeah. There's a few ways. I mean, now that we're like veterans and stuff, I got a little hospital pass. I can go anywhere. He's got me access to everything. And but in all seriousness, though, there are a lot of like cautionary things that we have to do and prerequisites, and we're really focused on. And the beauty of the Pet Pals program there is that we're really focused on helping and not being in the way. Right, so we have to use hand sanitizer, and there's certain floors and things that we can't go into, and we have to ask permission, and we usually go to like the on different floors. First thing we go and do is take requests. So what they have now, it's really cool, is they have a hotline you can call if you're a patient to get a visit from a therapy dog, right?
Oh,
It's
that's cool.
like 1-800-WOOF or something, because there's so many of us, because the hospital has assigned therapy dogs that work there full time, right? So one of the nurses on the floor, one of the employees is their handler. So they take them home and bring them every day. And there's us like people that come from out of town. So there's like 300 pet pals, you know. So at all times you might be getting a different type of dog. So it's really cool. And yeah, so we take requests and they take us that, hey, this person wants to see you there. So we're all over the hospital bouncing back and forth. You know, I think originally it was, my idea was, because of my tumor was so rare in adults, that it was common in children. I thought of, the hell that I went through, but thinking of an innocent, kid going through that, it bothered me a little bit. So I thought maybe, hey, we can bring some joy. So to the children's hospital, and that's the way we started doing it. But it's evolved too now, because I think I was avoiding the adult place a little bit because, of all the things that I went through, right? And I didn't know how I would handle that. But like I said earlier, the adult place the adult cancer center helps me a lot more now, because it's more about me and less about lingo. Lingo just gets me in the door, right? Because that's when I can actually talk to them. And so, and no, but so we're all over the place. We do events. I speak for them. Yeah, so we're hopefully starting a speaking bureau where say a hospital or an organization wants to learn more about therapy dogs. Lingo and I will suit up and we'll go talk to them, or whatever it may be. It's really cool.
I love that. And so on your little farmland there
Yeah,
is eventually just going to be a bunch of dogs.
maybe. Yeah, I mean, it already is kind of right now. When my whole family gets together, we have nine big dogs. So
Oh my
so they're yeah. So yeah, I got videos of me just with nine dogs running around. Yeah. So, but I don't have nine at all times. But there's gonna have to be some rules and some stipulations if I'm gonna be getting that many dogs. I gotta I gotta find a partner first. I can't be doing this all alone, right? But I just
Might help.
yeah, I just gotta find somebody that can stand me for more than 45 minutes. Yeah.
Since working on yourself and like kind
Yeah.
of going on this different path, how is dating? Like,
Uh-oh.
have you went on dates? Are you using like apps and stuff? How is that going?
That's a good question. Yeah, it's going. No, I don't go on the apps or anything. I think it's weird because I moved to a new place, and I learned a lot from my past. I was kind of I was this womanizer and all and these things, and I told myself, if I'm moving to a new place, you don't start dating the first pretty girl that likes you. You know what I mean? Because you don't know anything, right? You don't know anything. So I didn't do that this time. And I haven't gone on any. I don't do any of the apps or anything. I had done them in the past in California because I want to be a public figure in terms of speaking and helping other people, and I don't think it looks good if you find me all on dating apps. And I don't want to look at the 30s next to my name, anymore. Right? I'm not getting any younger. Like that part hurts me, but no, I've gotten to a point where, especially being out here, I've learned the difference between isolation and solitude. Right? I've really learned to be comfortable as a flawed human being that I am, comfortable to be me with my own time, and don't do things. And I've been really focused on this purpose that I'm going through in my life. So I haven't, not that I don't want it, right? I have this little voice in my head that is always, thinking about it, but I'm not going to settle. I'm really picky. I know what I want, and I know what I like, and I'm willing to not have it. So I'm still in this journey about learning who I am, and it'll happen. I know it will. If I continue to show up and do the next right things, and who knows? Sometimes I want to force it, but I know that I can't. Right?
Do you like date lightly, or are you just kind of just holding out right now?
I mean, I've so I'm not really dating at all, in the sense that, I mean, I live in Pierpont, which is in the middle of nowhere, so my options aren't too much. I don't get down to Cleveland too much. I mean, trying to. So as I get out more, I think I will. I'm not. I'm open. I'm not like not dating. Right. I'm not. So I'm open to things. I just nothing that has crossed my path that has fit that narrative, or that standard that I set. So, and knowing me is probably too high, but hey, right? You know,
But the more you work on yourself, the more you're working towards the guy that will attract that, right?
yeah, 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 yeah. Hopefully, and I'm gonna tell you, I'm not. It's not beneath me to share stuff about how great I am to try to pick up chicks. Trust me, right? It's not beneath me. I try. So,
I just didn't know if
yeah.
you used your dog as a tool
Oh, I
too.
do. Oh, I
So
do.
I
Yeah. I'm not. I'm not. It's not. I'm not. It's not beneath me. No. Shameless.
do. I mean, cute dog will go a long
Yeah,
way.
yeah, I know. At the same time though, like that's my first thought, right? That's always my first thought about everything. Like is how can I use this dog to get me a hot chick, right? That's my first thought. What it turns into, right, is when I get there and show up, it's like it's not about that. When I'm at the hospital, I get some attraction from the nurses. Sometimes the volunteer tell me like, hey, some of these nurses think you're cute, whatever, and like they always say, hey, when's Lingo coming? Like talking about to me, but I don't see it that way. They're working. I'm there. I'm not there for that, right? I'm not going to try to get in the way of their job, and we're here for a different reason. Like, sure, I think about those things, or sure, but it's bigger than that, right? It's bigger than my me. I always focus on me and my immediate desires, right? Because that's all it really is. It's just that's me wanting to get attention, right? That's me wanting to get validation from and me to feel better because you think I'm cute or whatever, or you think I'm so great, right? That's what that is. That's the disease of me, right? And so I have to always recognize that because I sure it can be my motivation at first, but when I get there, I have to change that, right? I have to see it for something else.
And that's probably like do you have that battle in your head where you're
Oh
like
yeah,
having these
oh yeah,
thoughts and then you're like,
oh
stop it.
yeah, yeah. Oh yeah, all the time. Yeah, that's my life. You know what I mean? It's like back and forth. Yeah, of course. Yeah, and I'm judgmental too. I'm at the gym and other things. You know what I mean? I there's so many things that I want to say, and just because I want to do it doesn't mean I should, right? And that's the whole point of my message is that like this is who I am. I'm not changed, right? In that sense, the way that I think. I've only changed the way that I work on it and see it and play the tape through and see the consequences of it, right? Like I already know the consequences because I've done it, right? You know what I mean? So it's like the thinking really hasn't changed, but the way that I immediately stop it and have this other voice of reason that has changed.
And I think what it is you realize you have choices. We always have
Yeah,
choices. No matter how
yeah,
we think or how we are, like we all have our little quirks. We all have
yeah,
our annoying little things that drive other people crazy, right? Or drive ourselves crazy. But we always have a choice on how we react in situations or how we
yeah.
deal with things. And I think people forget that. And that's where we lack that like responsibility for our actions because we assume we don't have choices.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think too, you're absolutely right. I think too, expectations, right? I think we in our minds we get so creative and we already play the situation out like we know what's going to happen, right? And that's what we talked about too. The truth, right? We don't know what's going to happen when we be ourselves, and we're messy and we're out in the open and we just put ourselves out there, right? How often you realize that, and I'm sure you have talking to people is that you don't realize how much people are afraid to really just be true and be honest and how scary that is to go through that because we always like that. I think we have that inherent protection, right? We want to protect ourselves, and so I have to sometimes like realize, hey, Michael, like you're a lot more open than a lot of these people, like you have to really like have sympathize with them in a sense where you can't expect them to do these things or be like this because they haven't gone what you've gone through, right? It startles me sometimes because I say to them some things and they look at me like, did you just say that? I'm like, yeah, like it's not a surprise to me, then I have to take a step back and like maybe all right, maybe that was a little much, but hey, whatever. but
I
but
started
I
like
thought,
half of my life being quiet, and now I'm outspoken to the point where I have to like, hang on, what's the vibe before I
yeah.
talk?
But yeah, and no, me too. I spent it quiet in a sense where I kept my inner self quiet, the real me, and I don't know if you do this too, but I find especially for me talking to girls and other people, I find it also fascinating to actually like have like go up and talk to them and have these conversations because I don't a lot of it's alien to me because I never thought about you. I always just thought about me, right? So I have these things and say these things and put these up and try to make people laugh and put in these conversations where I think it's all like it's an adventure for me in a sense, right? And I do that every
Well,
day.
I
Go
I
ahead.
think I think some of that's learning how to communicate, right? Like, so you
Yeah.
before you didn't know how to communicate properly.
No.
Like, you have to be able to listen, then respond, right? Not think about your response while they're talking.
Yeah. 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 I still do that too, but I try to say stop. Pay attention.
But you're more mindful of it.
Yes. Absolutely. Absolutely.
And do
That's
you feel
mindfulness.
like now when you talk to like a stranger, like it's easier, like it feels like it's more of a genuine conversation versus before you were just constantly trying to impress?
Yeah, yeah, in a way. I still, I think too. My judgmentalness gets in the way sometimes, especially when I'm around new people in certain areas. And I'm not one of those guys that's real chipper and goes up to everybody. You know what I mean? But when I am, when I do talk, I am open, and that's why I like speaking, because when I share my story with people, then people come navigate to me, and then we have these heartfelt conversations, right? So I think I give up like stuck up vibes. I try to say like I get jealous of like the attention and like the way hot girls are treated. So I try to act like a hot girl, even though I'm a guy and I'm never gonna get it. But I try to give off that vibe. I'm so jealous of that. But so I try to, and it comes off the wrong way sometimes. I think that I don't think sometimes I'm very approachable in certain places. But I'm working on it. I'm trying to be conscious of it. But I think too, with that it's very, I think it's a cool thing to like judge somebody and then realize, they're not what you thought. And the thing about what really taught me this was a couple years after my brain cancer, I started to get my hair back, and I started to get like weight back on, and I started to look like I was normal again. Right. But on the inside, I was completely broken, just in pain, just miserable. And I hated going out in public. I hated it because everybody would treat me like I was normal. Right. They didn't know, you couldn't tell. And I hated it. And I was like, don't you know I'm hurting? Like, leave me alone. Stop asking me how I am or how's the day going. But what it made me realize is that how much I've been judging a book by its cover, right? How much I see something and don't realize what's underneath, right? And that I had to learn that message that way, the hardest way possible for me to understand it, right? Because yeah, I still judge and do these things, but I recognize that it's a wrong way of thinking, and I have to open myself up to it. And so it's a continual process. Like listening and those skills are all things that I need to work on, like a lot, and I try to, and that's part of it, and so yeah, it's a never ending process.
Well, and it's hard to when you're so self-involved and not really like paying attention to what's going on around you, but you think everyone's paying attention to you because
Oh
of the
yeah.
self-involved, right?
Yeah.
And like really everyone's going through something. Everyone's got something going
Yep.
on. Like it's never like happy-go-lucky all the time for everyone. Like that's just it's not the thing. That's not life. That's why we're messy on purpose.
Yeah.
you know and so it's funny that you say that because I think a lot of people see things through like their lens but not from anybody else's, and they think that everyone else is seeing that same lens, and that's not the case. Most
Yeah.
people don't have time to think about what their neighbor or their friend or their family member is doing because they're dealing with their own stuff.
Yeah.
And just asking somebody like, hey, how are you doing, sometimes it's a very generic conversation because people aren't going to open up about what they got going on, or on the other side of that they're like you said, like you were reacting like, why are you asking me this, you know what I mean, like almost
Yeah.
like they're doing something wrong by asking you how you are.
Yeah. Yeah. No, yeah, absolutely. And I think too, it's part of it is like, not just for I was like the golden boy of first impressions, right? Like I always give people this hope because I was always so like the first time you met me, I was always so full of, possibilities and potential. You liked me, and even now when I play the piano, I learned how to play the piano a few years ago. I learned Beethoven's one song and I practice it over and over again. So if I ever get called out at a party, I can play one song. Just don't invite me back because it's the only thing I know how to do, right? But I mean
Don't
that's what I
ask for
was. I was
round
so
two.
yeah. I can't do round two. I just only know this one. But that's what I used to do. I was great on first dates, and then you get to know the real me, and then you wouldn't like me, and I was great at all these first impressions, but there's no depth, right? And so I think the most important thing for me is to make that first interaction, and then to remember something, their name or whatever it may be, and then the next time be able to share that, hey, how was this and this, or hey, so and so, that builds that bond for me. So I'm still bad with the first. I try to be bad on purpose on the first impressions, but yeah. And that too, like, and what you were saying earlier about dating in a sense too, I think a lot of it is different for me because I did a lot of it in bars and drinking, and right, that was a lot of the ways that I met people. And now, now that I don't go out to those certain areas, there's not a lot of times where I meet people. I find myself thinking, hey, you know, I may be a really good boyfriend now because I listen and I work on myself and I got all these things. Why doesn't anybody like me? But I think too I don't put my but I don't put myself out there in situations too, because I think I really have to focus on me and being that person that somebody would want, because I'm still not there yet, and it'll come. So, but yeah, you're right. This whole relationship thing, it's a learned thing. It's not something that I was given.
It's a skill. It's a
Yeah,
communication is a skill, and it's not even just in like romantic relationships. Building the relationship you have with your dad now versus what you had
yeah,
before, like those are different. Like they're just different relationships throughout your life that you have to work on, and like no relationship is just easy. There's like gonna always be something, even if it starts out easy. There will be
yeah.
something. Do you have any like really good buddies now that like maybe before was a little rockier, or maybe just people that you've met along the way that like kind of change things to having real connections?
Yeah, I have a real good group around me, a sober network of people that if I'm struggling with something, or if I'm going through anything, that I can call them and they'll be here in a second, or if I need to talk about something, I have that in my family and too, and moving out here, I don't have my real close friends, the guys I went to college with, the guys that I grew up with, that are my closest friends, that actually knew the real me when no one else did, and I burned some of those bridges too, but I do have a few of them now that I've been able to show that I've changed, and hopefully give them some. There's a lot of things like I said I can't make up for, but I do have them to call. That one, I got some of them reading my book to help me, and that's one thing I do miss. I miss, and unfortunately I've got good at it myself, but I miss having people to call me out on my behaviors, right? To have a little, to make fun of each other here and there, or to rag on each other, and just to like, because that's what real friends do. Some people to tell me the truth, and not what I want to hear. I think that's part of that is because I'm new to the area and things. I don't have anybody that's close, but I have people that tell me that I want to hear, and I get that, and I'm the same way. But I do have that, back in California, and people that I can call and talk to.
So, how long have you been in Cleveland
About
area? I know you're in the
area,
Cleveland
area,
Valley.
area. About 4 years.
About 4 years. It
Yeah,
takes a little while to like find your circle. You know what I mean? Like a
yeah.
close somebody that you can actually talk crap to.
Yeah, yeah, I know. He does. I know. Yeah. No, and that's you. I think a part of it too is I'm 4 years sober too now, a little bit over. So I'm still getting into finding out really who I am, and a lot of these things. And I think that I'm no good to anybody else if I can't be good to myself.
And so I don't know if it, I mean, I guess Ohio is kind of the Midwest, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. So I know, like, so I'm from originally from Iowa, like an
Okay.
Iowa Illinois border, and it's like the drinking is like the only thing to do.
Yeah.
So like it's super common that everybody drinks. Is it kind of like that there, like where everyone just kind of uses
Yeah,
substances?
there's opiates, and there's drug problem out in this area too, and where I think my message can help a lot. But yeah, it's kind of like that. I mean, fortunately, there's Lake Erie, which is there, but and there's a lot of potential in this town. But yeah, it's kind of run down a little bit in a sense where that drugs have kind of ruined some parts of the area. I mean, it's a great. Don't get me wrong, I love this place, and the people that I met, it's great people. But yeah, I think it's just like anywhere. I think it's like across America. If you go anywhere, really, it's like that. So I did a lot of playing in Midwest towns, Indiana and Illinois. So I was enmeshed in a lot of these cultures before. But yeah, it's just different. Like the biggest thing for me, I think, is a small town, right? I mean, I went from Monterey, which is not a big city, but there's tourists all the time. There's people coming in and out. There's always changes of people. Out here, it's just you see the same people all the time. So I have to really be careful on reputation and things that I hadn't had to really worry about in the past.
Yeah, especially if you're in like more of a tourism where people are coming and going. Like
Yeah, yeah,
you could mess up last night, but
yeah. Well,
tonight.
I mean, better than anybody living in Vegas, So,
Oh
yeah,
yeah, it's interesting
yeah,
here.
yeah.
I don't drink or anything, so we don't go out, but
Okay,
there's a
yeah,
lot of tourism here.
yeah. Fair enough. Yeah.
So let's see. What question do I have next?
Yeah.
Is there anything else that you want to touch base on
Oh,
specifically?
no.
Um, because I think we pretty much circled your whole life at this
Yeah.
point.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you said your book is coming out. When is it gonna, or I think it was upcoming when you
Yeah,
told
so
me
I said,
earlier.
yeah, so I said I wanted it to come out by the end of the year, and I thought, hey, once I write this book, like it's all going to be done. But just like everything I do, is not that simple, right? So I have to. It's with an editor right now. I have to rewrite the first part. I'm hoping the first couple months in the new year. That's what I'm hoping. So I don't want to
Okay,
rush it, and yeah, that's the plan.
so it's coming soon, right
Coming
now,
soon, yeah,
but
yeah,
hopefully by the beginning of the year. That's super
yep.
cool. What's the hardest part of writing this book?
Mm, rewriting it, right? Like I think putting the condensing it down a little bit, I think, to well, the hardest thing I did, I let my mom read it. That was the biggest mistake, like I think not that she thought it was good, right? My mom thinks it's good, right? But she she's too close, I think, to it, but she made some good points. And I think having to take some things out, to reordering things, the structure is really good. I think this is the hardest thing for me, I think, is to getting it to be a little bit shorter, right? I think there's a lot of fluff in there that I can get rid of and stuff, but I think it's all important, right? And I think that I have to recognize that, some people probably can't relate to that in some capacity, and there's better ways that I can say it. But yeah, so I think another hard part is that I was on this roll of writing it, and now that I stopped for a little while, it's hard for me to get back going again. But I'll do it.
Yeah, I could see where like if you're in a rhythm and then you're just like, okay, I don't have time right now, and then you jump back in,
Yeah,
you're like, oh, I'm not feeling it anymore.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Well,
And then
I
I
think
could
too.
see where like, oh, go ahead.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say, and rewriting it, like it could be kind of hard too, because you have all of this that you just wrote out. You poured your heart and soul into this,
Yeah.
and then you're like, oh man, now I gotta change this, but I love
Oh,
it.
not only that, I'm getting criticism about it. I'm like, I'm mumbling under my breath, like, what do you know? I'm rewriting it, like, like that, like that's the hardest part. Like, I can I don't. I mean, I can accept it, and I can take it, and I can move on from it, but I don't like it, right? I don't like being criticized, right? I don't like it.
It's not comfortable.
No.
It's because you're literally getting judged at
Yeah.
something you're doing. But it is a good thing too, and if you're able to see that, it'll only make your book better.
Yeah. No, I do see it. I do see it. So, yeah.
Have you always struggled with like criticism in general? Like, so you played professional baseball. Obviously, there was some criticism while you were playing, right? Like,
Yeah, yes, yes. I think I can safely say that. It depends on who it's from, to be honest. If it's I think playing at that level, I created uh this meter of who I thought was important, who I thought was the people that I can listen to, and then everybody else kind of they weren't worthy in a sense, right? And so from the people that I felt I deemed worthy, that I respected, I could take it a little bit. It hurt, but I could take it. But getting criticism from people outside of that, I wanted no part of it. And and so still now I find though that being sober and doing the right things and helping people and cleaning up my side of the street, I don't really get criticized too much, So, and when I do, it's probably it's worthy. I'm worth. It's worthy of me listening. So,
it's amazing when you do the right thing how often people don't have anything else to
yeah,
say.
yeah, yeah.
um, do you still like talk a lot about like baseball days? Do you miss it? Is there any like still connection? Do you still watch the game?
No, no, I don't. I don't watch it. I mean, I when in the area, when I find kids that I get to know their parents, and they're really good kids, or people that help me, like for example, the ladies that help me train my dogs, I teach their son baseball lessons, just out of like a
Cool.
family thing, or things like that. I have a couple of kids that are high school kids around here that are really good kids. I know their parents, and so I'll let them work out with me, and I'll train them, for that. And there's that way I stay into it. I don't watch it anymore. I don't play it. I play the piano. I read. I do stuff out in the fields or with my dogs. I do all the other stuff that I miss out on, right? Because I just I obsessed over that and did it for so long that I don't. It's not that I don't love it, not that I don't miss a little. Part of me misses it a little bit, but and I watched some of my friends, who played, and after we're getting older now, all this new stuff, it doesn't seem that interesting to me anymore. All this other stuff that I haven't done before is where my mind's at.
Is it kind of more exciting now to like try something new like the piano?
Yeah, yeah. I used to never do anything that I sucked at, right? I never wanted to do anything. Right? I'm terrible at music and like drawing and that kind of stuff. But I'd try it. Why not? I think when I got to the point where I realized that I learned so much from failure, right? That if the worst thing that can happen to me when I do something is I fail and I learn something, then what's the point of not doing it, right? I try all these new things, and I spend a lot of time in the weight room and things that really helps me. And yeah, so I'm open to this. I'm really trying to learn how to drive a tractor and tow my boat and tow all this other stuff right now. That's this farm life is harder than it looks. So I got a lot to work on.
It's hard work. That's
Yeah.
why not everybody does
No.
it.
Yeah.
People talk about it. People are all like, "Oh, I just want to have a farm and
Yeah.
a garden." And it's like, yeah, but there's a lot of work in that. I don't want
Yeah.
that life.
No. Oh. Yeah. I don't want to like farm crops or have like barn animals. That's just too much work.
It's a
But
lot.
it's a lot. Yeah, no, it's a lot. Yeah, I don't want to do that. But in some capacity, to make this like a nature preserve, to do things out here and to maintain that, in itself is a lot of work in a different way. And that's kind of what I want to do.
Bring home all the foster dogs and
Yeah.
just have a dog party.
Yep. Yep. Yeah.
So like to round this out, is there like a message you want to leave to everybody, some type of motivation, something that
Yeah.
you feel everyone should know?
Yeah. I think the most important thing that I learned, I can speak really only from my experience, is that my self-worth has to come from within. Right? Attention. It can't come from outside sources. Right? When I learned that, and the only way that I learned that is by showing up and doing the hard things. Right? I never knew who I was, because I never was willing just to show up and try my best, because I always felt it was never good enough. Right? I was so smart that I always knew the situation, how it would end before it happened, so I would never put myself out there. And when I started to put myself out there and to be honest and just to get messy and explore the truth of things, I really learned who I was. And I learned that, hey, you know what? I don't have to be perfect all the time. I don't have to be 100%. I think there's this idea in our society, in a sense, where I always have to be 100% every day all the time. And I think that's what happened with some of my addictions, and I got caught up in that. But I'm okay to make a mistake. I'm okay to fail. I'm okay to mess up. These things are okay. They're a part of life, and I learn from them, and I get better in the future. But being back to that, to my worth that comes from within. And the last thing that I would say is help somebody else. Right? Really, just to see. It's just, if you're struggling, if you're going through a lot of other things right now, whatever happening in your life, if you feel like life's too hard, put yourself out there and help somebody else without any expectations, and see what happens to you. See what happens.
I love that. It, it is surprising how much easier life feels when you sit in someone else's shoes and try to help them with something.
Yeah, really. It just changes. It changes your perspective. It changes the way you think, and when you really see how relatable we really all are. Right? We have all these differences here and there. You think we do, but no. How much we are the same. Our pain is the same. It really is. It may be different on paper and in different capacities, but it's really the same. The way we feel, the way it really is. And when you find that relatability and you see that connection, right? I struggled for so long because I struggled alone. I didn't put myself out there that's why. I thought that I knew better, and I thought that I was terminally unique, right? I thought that I was special, and I was the only one dealing through these things. But when I realized that by putting myself out there and seeing that we all deal with this stuff, We're not that different, no matter our political beliefs, our religion, or whatever it may be. We're not that different, you know. And I think when you see that in the moment in the wild, then it changes you.
100%. Well, Michael, thank you so much for coming on here, telling your
Yeah,
story. I mean, I know you're an open book, but it's not always easy to tell your story, and it's appreciated when you do.
thank
And
you.
showing people that, it can be messy, but it doesn't have to be the end, right?
No,
And it can
yeah,
stay messy, and sometimes it never not messy, and that's a good thing. So I appreciate you telling your story, and I, even though it doesn't directly affect me, I appreciate you giving back and helping others too. That's absolutely amazing. Um, so, and
thank
I
you.
might even look into the whole bringing the dog to the hospital thing because I've never
It-
really thought about that, but my dog would love that.
yeah, yeah. Well, if you have any questions about it, I could definitely lead you in the right places and just for your listeners to anyone that my website is michaelbugary.com, MICHAELBUGARY. If you want to just listen to me speak or shoot me a message to talk whatever it may be, I love conversing, and I always learn something from other people. I think that's too is that when you accept yourself for who you are, and you accept other people, then you can really learn from them too. And everybody has something to teach us and show us. And so hopefully that if you have any questions or I can connect, I would love to.
I'll make sure to put your information too in the description so people can
Okay,
find you.
great.
All right. Until next time, guys. Bye.